In this complete tutorial, Ahmed is going to show us all the configurations of the Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin. All and more coming up. Hey there Measure Geeks, Julian here, back with another video. Today we have Ahmed on the channel again because he took an in-depth look at the Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin. Now this is a plugin that I personally also recommend when you install Google Tag Manager. Why? Because it brings more functionality with it to enhance your Google Tag Manager tracking deployment and fill that ominous data layer. So sometimes in the videos you might have seen me pull something from the data layer. And how did I implement this? Well, with this little plugin. So if you are on WordPress and have Google Tag Manager installed, you might want to take a look at the Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin and see what it can do for you as well. There are tons of features inside of the plugin and Ahmad goes through almost all of them. So if you want to jump forward to one or the other configuration, then check out our timestamps down below where we have everything marked up. And once again, we got lots to cover, so Ahmad, take it away.
Thanks, Julian. This is Ahmad with another video tutorial, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install Google Tag Manager on a WordPress website using a free plugin named Google Tag Manager for WordPress made by Thomas Geiger. This is the demo e-commerce store that I'm going to use, which is running on WordPress and WooCommerce. And I've already created a brand new Google Analytics account to track the page views of this website too. Now I'm going to create a new Google Tag Manager container, add a Google Analytics tag in it, and then we are going to use Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin to add this container to this e-commerce shop that is running on WordPress. Okay, let's create an account. It is Ahmed's demo shop. I live in Budapest, Hungary. So let's choose that. I don't want to share my data. And the container name would be again Ahmed's demo shop WooCommerce. It's a web container and we can now create it. Let's accept the terms. And here we go. Okay, so this is our container ID, which we will need later on. But first, let's add the Google Analytics tag and publish the container. I'm going to create a new tag. It is Google Analytics page view. It would be a Google Analytics Universal Analytics tag. It's a page view tag. I'm not going to create a GA setting variable for this demo tutorial. I'm just going to override and put the tracking ID here, but let's go back to Google Analytics and figure out our tracking ID. Okay, that's it. Back to Google Tag Manager, paste tracking ID, and for the trigger, all pages, save, and we're done. Let me dismiss this and publish the container. Google Analytics page view. Always add a version name when you're publishing a container. It just helps everyone to figure out what has been done on the container. Okay, our container is ready, so let's go back to the demo store and actually the admin area of the demo store and add the Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin. I'm gonna navigate to plugins, add new. I'm going to search for it. Usually it is the first result. Yes, that's it. Google Tag Manager for WordPress by Thomas Geiger. We're going to install the plugin and now activate it. Okay, here's our plugin activated. Let's go to the settings. And the first thing we need to configure for this plugin is that we need to add our Google Tag Manager ID. And the plugin is telling us the same. To start using Google Tag Manager, please enter your GTM ID. Now we have to go back to Google Tag Manager, admin, install Google Tag Manager, and we can grab the GTM ID from here. We don't need all of the code. The plugin actually does the heavy lifting and will add this piece of code in the head section of all pages and this piece of code in the body section of all pages. We just need to give the plugin this Google Tag Manager ID and it will take care of the rest. Okay, so here we are. Let's paste it and save changes. Now, something that I'd like to bring into your attention is the container code placement configuration. So there are four different types that this plugin can add the container into the code: footer, custom, codeless injection, and off. And it is a little bit confusing because some people think that this is for the main part of the container, the head part, which is not. So if you read this description down here, it says code placement decide where to put the second so-called no script part of the GTM container code. So if we take a look back into Google Tag Manager installation scripts, so we have the first piece of code and second piece of code. This second piece of code is the no script piece of code, and it is added in the body, and it only runs when a browser does not support JavaScript, which is rare, but it happens. So actually, if the browser supports JavaScript and can run JavaScript code, this piece of Google Tag Manager code, which is the main part, will run and will execute in the head section. Otherwise, as a fail-safe mechanism, this piece, the no script piece, which is an iframe with a image kind of tag, it will run in the body section. So this configuration is just about the placement of the second part, not the first part. So the first part, the main GTM container, will be placed into the head section of your page anyway. Okay, so there's nothing to worry. We can just leave it in the footer, and browsers that do not support JavaScript are going to be, I'd say, less than 1% anyway. Now let's verify that Google Tag Manager container has actually been added to this website. Let me navigate to Google Tag Manager, to our workspace, and preview the container. Now if we navigate to our website and refresh the page, we should be able to see the preview panel. Yes. Okay. So this shows that Google Tag Manager container has been added to this website and is loading on this page. Our Google Analytics page view tag has been fired one time, which is good. And we can also go to Google Analytics interface and check the real-time view to verify that Google Analytics is actually receiving the hits that was sent through Google Tag Manager, which is here. This is me, Budapest. And we can see the referrer and the active page and other information about this visit. Now, if you just want to use this plugin to add Google Tag Manager container into your WordPress WooCommerce website, that's it. You don't need to do anything else. It works, and it works reliably. But the actual power of this plugin comes from everything else that it can do, other than just injecting a Google Tag Manager container on your website. It can actually put many types of useful information into the data layer. Let me show you. So when we tested to verify Google Tag Manager installation on this website, we can see here that other than page view, DOM ready, and window loaded, which are the default events that fire in a Google Tag Manager container, we also have one event firing before these, which is a message. Message means that we don't have an event name associated with the event. If we click on this and check the data layer at this time, we can see that the plugin has actually added 3 pieces of information into the data layer: page post type, page post type 2, and page post author. So we can already know that this is a front page and this is a single page, and it was created by the admin. But the plugin can actually do much more than that. Let's take a look. Under basic data, we have some tabs here. So here we can decide what kind of information this plugin actually pushes into the data layer when the page loads. Post type, category, post author ID. So we've seen the name, admin, but maybe you want the ID of the user that has published the post as well, the date, of the post being published, the title of the post, how many posts are being shown on the page, the ID of the post, format, and terms. So based on your usage, you might or might not need all of this information, okay? But the fact is this plugin can actually push all of these into the data layer. Let's save, head back to the website, and refresh the page. Now again, we see this message, but if you take a look at the data layer, now it has much more information inside of it. The date of post being published, year, the months, day, etc. Now let's check the rest of the configuration for this plugin and see what other kind of information it can actually put into the data layer for us. Search data. Visitors is something actually nice, so you can see if the user that is visiting the website has actually logged in. And if they're logged in, what is their role? Are they an administrator, a moderator, an editor, a customer? What is their ID? What is their name? What is their email? And of course, we don't want to send email to Google Analytics because it's PII, personally identifiable information. What is the date that the account for your user has been created? And what is their IP? Again, we don't want to send the IP to Google Analytics, but we can use it to kind of look up the geographic locations, etc. Let's save changes and take another look on the data layer. I'm going to refresh the page, check the data layer values here again. Let's take a look. Okay, so we have some new pieces of information added to the data layer. Login state, I'm logged in, I'm an administrator, this is my email, this is the date, I've been registered, I'm an admin, and this is my ID, and this is my IP. Now before I go back to the plugin settings and show you all the other types of information that it can actually push into the data layer, let's see an example of how can we access this information in Google Tag Manager and what can we do with these types of information. Usually we can do two things with a piece of information that we have in the data layer. We can either send it to a tracking or marketing tool or an analytic tools like Google Analytics, or we can use the information to make some kind of decision. In this example, I would like to use this piece of information, visitor type, and if visitor type equals administrator, I don't want to track that page view into Google Analytics because it's an administrator of the website. We just want to track our users, not our own administrators or internal team. And this is a useful example of how we can use information in the data layer to increase our data quality. So first, let's navigate to Google Tag Manager and see how can we access that piece of information. To access the information that are in the data layer, we need to use variables. I'm going to create a new variable, name it DLV visitor type, which means data layer value, and what value we're interested in, visitor type. This is not a critical rule to follow, but I would like to have my naming convention clean. So when looking at the name of a variable, I can immediately see that, okay, this is a variable that is getting its data from data layer, and this is the information in the data layer that the variable is getting the data from. I'm going to click here and use data layer variable as the type of the variable, and the name of the variable, as we can see here, the name of the variable is visitor type, which I'm going to type in here, visitor type, and that's it. Let's save it and preview the container. Again, when you make a change to your container, in order for it to be available on the website, you either need to click preview again, or also you can click refresh here. Now we can go back to our website and refresh the page, select the first message, and take a look at the variables that we have access to at this point in time. Okay, we can see that we have a variable right now with the name of DLV visitor type and the value of administrator. This value is being taken from this value here. Okay, so when this message happens, when this event happens, Google Tag Manager wants to evaluate the value of this variable. It goes to the data layer, looks for visitor type, which we have defined, in Google Tag Manager and returns the value of it as the value of the variable. Now we can use this variable to either send a value to some tool or use it to make some kind of a decision. If we check the summary and the tags that have been fired, we can see that Google Analytics page view has been fired on this page. What we are going to do is that we would like to take a look at the value of visitor type, and if it's administrator, we want to block the Google Analytics page view tag from being fired. There are multiple ways of blocking a tag from being fired based on some criteria, like exception triggers or actually limiting the trigger itself. For this purpose, I'm going to use a simple method. I'm going to create a page view trigger that fires only when the value of visitor type is not equals to administrator. I'm going to call it page view not administrator. This is a page view trigger. It fires only on some page views, and it fires when DLV visitor type, which is our variable, does not equal administrator. Save. Now what we're going to do is to switch the trigger of our Google Analytics page view tag with this trigger, because right now our Google Analytics page view fires on all pages. We don't want that anymore. We want it to fire, let me remove this first. We want it to fire only on page views that are not being viewed by a user with the role of administrator. Let me save this. I can again click on preview again or refresh here. And let's go back to the website and refresh the page. This time, hopefully, we should not be tracked to Google Analytics. Okay, as we can see in the summary, tags fired on this page, none. Tags not fired on this page, Google Analytics page view. This is not fired on this page because of the limitations that we defined in Google Tag Manager. Okay, let's take a look why. And for this, we need to first click on the events that this tag was supposed to be fired on. Okay, so I'm clicking on the page view because this was the event that we expected this tag to fire, but it did not fire. And now we can click on the tag card to see why. First of all, we can see the properties of the tag, but here on the firing triggers, page view not administrator, we can see that the event equals GTM.js with a green check mark. This GTM.js means page view. So the events equals page view, but the data layer value of visitor type does not equal administrator. This criteria has not been met. And we can actually verify that by clicking on the variables and see, yes, when page view happens, the value of data layer visitor type was administrator, and it actually prevented the GA tag from being fired. Now that we learned what kind of information this plugin can add into the data layer for us to use and how we can actually make use of them, let's go back to the plugin settings and see what else it can help us to put into the data layer. So under the basic data tab, we've already seen the options we have for the post, for search, for visitors. We actually use this one to prevent a tag. Google Ads, this setting actually includes all the data layer values into a single data layer variable to be used for Google Ads remarketing. This is an advanced use case. I'm not gonna activate it right now. Browser, OS, and device. If for any reason you want to have the name of the browser being used by the user, the operating system, or their device data, whether it's a desktop, tablet, or mobile, inside the data layer, you can check these. These are in beta, so be careful and test them out before actually using them in a live environment. But that can be useful, for example, if you want to fire some tags only on desktop, only on mobiles, or only for some operating systems. This one is interesting. The plugin can actually use the user's IP address to call ipstack.com's API and receive some geographic and weather data. So it can actually push the latitude, longitude, and country, city of the user into the data layer, so you can use it, either report it to some tool, or again, just like our example, use it to make some decision about tags being fired or not. You will need an API key from ipstack.com, and if you have a really high volume website, you might need to pay them as well for your usage. And here you can define whether you would like to have weather data inside the data layer or not, and what kind of unit do you want to use for the temperature. If you are using a multi-site WordPress multi-site environment, you can have your site ID and site name be pushed into the data layer on each page load. The plugin can push events into the data layer when form fields are being interacted with and user moves between, let's say, first name and last name and password of a form. It can also push an event into the data layer when a new user registers on your website or logs in, or an existing user logs in into your website. It can help you get engagement information with the videos that you have on your pages. This is experimental. And of course, for YouTube videos, there is a built-in YouTube video trigger inside Google Tag Manager. And there are several scripts available for Vimeo and SoundCloud, but you might want to use these instead of having another script on your website. You can test it, see if it works for your case, and if yes, you can activate it and use it. There's some deprecated events here. I'm not gonna cover them. Scroll tracking, again, it is now built in Google Tag Manager, so you can do it right within Google Tag Manager. I'm going to cover blacklist later, and for integrations, you can see that the plugin actually allows you to track interactions and form submissions on Contact Form 7, which is a plugin that I've activated, and it can actually detect that the plugin is active and recommends to enable this integration. Another integration which we need to use for this website, which is a WooCommerce shop, is WooCommerce integration. So let me just save this first before covering the WooCommerce integration. Okay, so let me navigate to WooCommerce. So for WooCommerce, and we can see that the plugin is active. So yes, I'm using WooCommerce. We can choose to track classic or enhanced e-commerce. And for enhanced e-commerce, the plugin actually pushes so many useful values about product impressions, add to carts, transactions, etc. into the data layer. And we can use the data layer that is already formatted in the way required for enhanced e-commerce tracking. And we can use it in Google Tag Manager to track transactions, revenue, product impressions, add to carts, etc. This one is a fairly advanced feature which allows you to batch your product impression hits into different payloads, because sometimes if you have a lot of product on a page, let's say 48 products are being loaded on a page, and you want to send product impression hits for all of them at once to Google Analytics, the size of the hit and the size of the packet of data, let's say, that is going to Google Analytics is more than can get more than 8 kilobytes, and in that case Google Analytics will not register such a hit. So in this case, you may want to use this plugin to break this product impression hit into smaller pieces, like 8 products at a time. So in case of 48 products on a single page, let's say it can break it down to 6 different smaller hits and send 6 small hits to Google Analytics rather than a really large hit that is likely to be ignored. And this is for checkout step tracking. You can have your carts page be the first page of checkout. This depends on the way you want your data to be recorded in Google Analytics. It can push all the contents of your shopping cart into the data layer to be used for Google Optimize or other purposes. It can include full category paths. You can select which taxonomy to be used for product brand, because product brand is something that in enhanced e-commerce you can report to Google Analytics, and here you can select what type of taxonomy are you going to use as the brand. So if you organize your products in a way that each brand has its own category or its own tag, you can select here which one to be used. You can have customer data inside the data layer. You can have order data inside data layer. These are all useful pieces of information that, based on the tracking scenario that you're having, you might or might not want to activate. It can also exclude tax and shipping from the revenue. So if you sell something for $100 and they choose it to be shipped via DHL, let's say, and they actually want to pay $200 for the shipping and some for tax as well, then instead of recording a transaction for more than $300, you might be interested to having actual product revenue recorded in Google Analytics. In that case, you can exclude tax and shipping from the revenue being reported. The plugin can add Google Ads dynamic remarketing variables inside data layer, and it can add any prefixes to the product in case you have any prefixes in your product feeds. And it can also use the product SKU instead of product ID, because if you use an inventory software, you have SKUs recorded in your inventory, and you might want your Google Analytics data to actually match those SKUs instead of the product IDs of WooCommerce. And this one is another advanced feature which allows you to actually decide, do you want to flag an order as being already tracked? So when an order happens on your website, you will track it in tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics, etc. And the tool can actually flag that specific order as being already tracked. So if someone reloads the page, or there is another circumstance that actually causes the same transaction hits to be fired into Google Analytics and Facebook again, you can prevent that, and so not receive duplicate transactions in your tools. Now I'm going to only have the track enhanced e-commerce active, so only the first checkbox, and save changes, and head back to the website to see just quickly how it pushes enhanced e-commerce data layers. Okay, let's go back to the website, refresh the page, and I'm going to visit a product page to see what kind of values does it push into the data layer. Okay, let's visit shop. Here we have some products. Let's take a look at this one, for example. And now let's take a look at the data layer values that have been pushed into the data layer at the time of page load. Okay, so here we can see that an e-commerce object has been pushed into the data layer with all the information about the product that has been viewed. We can see the currency code, we can see product ID, product name, product SKU, the category, the price, and the stock level, which is not available. So this was a quick overview of WooCommerce integration in Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin. Now we can also take a look at the rest of the integrations quickly. It can actually help you add Google Optimized Container to your website, and it will also add the page hiding snippets to all of your pages, which is a small piece of JavaScript that actually helps Google Optimize reduce flicker of a page when deciding, whether to show the control or the variation of an A/B test. It actually prevents the page from being loaded before the control or variation being decided in order to prevent page flicker. The next integration that this plugin can help with is with AMP's accelerated mobile pages, which if you use AMP pages on your website, you can actually enter a comma separated list of GTM containers for AMP GTM containers in here, and the plugin helps with implementing them on your website. There are also some advanced features like what name to use for data layer and environment, etc., which I'm not going to cover in this tutorial, but the two final checkboxes are actually useful, so I'm going to cover them quickly. First is the do not track browser settings. Some people configure their browser to tell tracking tools their preference of not wanting to be tracked. Okay, if you check this, it actually sends this value into the data layer, which you can again, just like we use the visitor type value, you can use this value to decide if you want to fire any kind of marketing or analytics tag or not, if you want to respect the user's preference of not wanting to be tracked. And also in some cases you might want to load the Google Tag Manager container as early as possible on the page, and in this case you can activate this checkbox and save your changes, and instead of adding Google Tag Manager container at the end of the head section, it will try to put it as early in the head section of the page as possible. The final feature that I'm going to cover in this tutorial is blacklisting tags and variables. Now this is called macros. Macros were the names of variables in the first versions of Google Tag Manager. Right now we call them variables, so we can use macros and variables interchangeably. Now, what does it do? What does it actually mean, blacklisting tags or variables? Now, think about this. Why do we use a tag manager in the first place? So tag managers were introduced to make it easy for marketers to actually add scripts to the website to track interactions, to marketing tools and analytics tools, etc., without the need of developers. So without the need to access the actual code of the website, you can easily go to Google Tag Manager, add a Google Analytics tags, and it will load that Google Analytics tags on all pages of your website. You actually saw that without having to touch any line of code or write any PHP or JavaScript, we could actually set a criteria to fire or not fire a tag based off the role of the user that was logged in to a website. Without Google Tag Manager and without using this plugin to push those values into data layer, that would be something that we would needed to call our developers or email someone to actually write some code to make it possible. So Google Tag Manager and any kind of tag manager actually gives marketers so much power and flexibility to inject, as to say, whatever tag or script that they want into all pages of a website. And yes, this is flexible, but it can also be dangerous. Someone can add a custom HTML tag that actually breaks a website or some parts of its functionality. Now, this section of this plugin, this tool, the blacklisting tags, actually gives the power to the administrator of the website or whoever has access to the settings of this plugin to blacklist or control what kind of tags a marketer can later go and add and run in Google Tag Manager. Okay, because by installing this plugin, by adding Google Tag Manager container to this website and giving someone access to the admin panel of Google Tag Manager, we have actually given them the possibility to add any kind of tag or script or HTML to the website. We might not want to do that. Okay, so let me show you an example. Let's say we don't want anyone on our team that has access to Google Tag Manager to be able to fire any kind of custom HTML tag. Now, custom HTML, as I call them, CHTML tags, they allow you to add some piece of HTML code to the website. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a JavaScript because, frankly, I can do that. Okay. I can write a script, alert, hello world. Okay. So using a custom HTML tag, what I'm going to do is that on all pages of this website, I'm going to show a pop-up saying hello world. Let's save it. Preview. We don't have to do this. I just do preview and refresh, for example, so you know that both ways are possible. And now let's go back to the website. Let's refresh the page and see in under 1 minute, what could I do with this website? I just broke it. Okay. Demo shop says hello world. Okay. I'm a marketer without any access to the code. I could do that. So this is the kind of flexibility and power that I have within Google Tag Manager and the level of responsibility that I should have on how to use it. Now, as the administrator of this website, because you're using Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin, you can say allow all of the tags except, where is it, a custom HTML tag to be executed within this container. Okay, so and you can use you can block the other types of tags as well. You can block Google Analytics Universal Analytics tag, but that is a safe tag. It just tracks data. There is a little chance of it breaking your website. So I've saved the changes, and now I'm going to go back to this website and refresh the page again. This time there is no hello world. Why? Because the custom HTML tag that we have active and running on this container has been blocked by the tool itself. Okay, and the mechanism to do so is like this. As you can see here, in the first data layer push that we used to just get the information about visitor, page type, etc., it has also pushed two new pieces of information, two arrays of the types of variables and tags that are whitelisted or blacklisted. And on this line, you can see Google Tag Manager blacklist HTML, which even before the page view event happens, it tells Google Tag Manager you are not allowed to run any HTML or custom HTML tag. Okay, that is why on page view, if you take a look at tags, this one has not been fired. The criteria for firing triggers were met. There was no blocking trigger, but because we had this limitation set at the time of page load that we cannot have custom HTML tags firing on this page, the tag was not fired. So this is a way for website administrators or website owners to actually block and limit the type of tags and type of variables that a marketer or their team can use inside their Google Tag Manager container. Okay, so this is a list of all of the variable types that can be used. So custom JavaScript, DOM elements, variables that get values from the URL, or variables that get their values from the data layer. This is the same type of value we use to get visitor type and to prevent the Google Analytics tags to be fired if the visitor was an administrator. So to recap, we had a website running on WordPress and WooCommerce. We had a brand new analytics account, and we used the Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin by Thomas Geiger to add a Google Tag Manager container to this website and to also add many useful pieces of information into the data layer. We learned how to use the values into data layer to prevent some tags being fired. We quickly reviewed the types of information that this plugin can add to the data layer. We quickly reviewed the integrations and how this plugin can be used to add enhanced e-commerce data layer values to track transactions and revenue and product impressions in a WooCommerce store. And we also saw how could we blacklist the kind of tags and triggers that can actually be used in the Google Tag Manager container that has been added to this website. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video tutorial. This is Ahmed, and until next time, bye.
Alright, so there you have it. This is how you can utilize the Google Tag Manager for WordPress plugin and all its different configurations to enhance your Google Tag Manager tracking deployment. I hope you found this useful, and thanks again to Ahmad who helped us produce this video. He really went in depth, and if you want to find out more about Ahmad, we have a link down below to his website and all the contact information that you would need. And we have come to the end of the video. This time I want to ask you a question. Are you subscribed to the Measure School channel yet? If not, then hit that subscribe button down below and we'll see you in the next video. My name is Julian. Till next time.